speak a little bit, Jeff.
Okay. Are you hearing that?
Keep going.
Okay. Is that better? You hearing me? We are. Is that good? You hearing me okay?
Well, yeah, I can only hear you through my phone.
Oh.
For some reason, my line out is not working.
Okay.
But that's okay. We can deal with this.
Okay. If I speak clearly and loudly, sort of, you can hear me. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are now live, and people are seeing you, and now I'm going to make them see me and you, and I'm just going to go. I kind of avoided. I went through here. Wait a minute. Let me do this official. Okay. So now I go in the green room with Bob Mocarsky, and then. I do that, and then I put your name up underneath you so people who know who you are, and that's cool. Now we're live and we're talking, and
Right.
I call this show In the Green Room with with Bob Mocarsky. So the idea is if we were getting ready to do a gig, and I haven't seen you for as long as I have, and now here we are doing a gig in San Francisco, I'd be going like, dude, what have you been doing? And we would just be talking before the gig. And this is, so here we are now.
Okay.
So my first question, and right off the bat, first of all, when did you move to Asia, and where did you move to first?
Okay. I moved to Thailand first.
Mm-hmm.
It was in 2001. It was 2 weeks after George W. Bush was elected. Sort of a coincidence. I got out just like at a nice time. And Thailand was my first interest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I landed here and I got a gig. I got a gig, a 6-month gig, 6 nights a week, playing with a fantastic trio.
Mm-hmm.
And found an apartment. And after 3 months, I got a notice saying we were being evicted from the place that we lived in. They were doing some renovation. And I flew back and I sold my Honda Accord and came back here and continued.
So in Thailand, in Bangkok, were you in Bangkok?
Bangkok, yes.
Right. And is that where you are now? You're in Hong Kong.
No, I'm in Hong Kong right now.
Okay. Now, I remember your Honda Accord.
Yeah, I had that for 15 years.
Man, I remember that thing, driving up to gigs, pulling your stuff out and doing the gigs. And so anyway, you get there and you did the trio thing, and then you went back to Bangkok and stayed. How long were you there?
Well, that's a long story. But I moved to Bangkok in January of 2001, and I had this 6-month gig. Just 3 months into the gig, I got this notice, get your stuff out of your place in San Francisco. And so I just came back for 2 weeks. I sold my car, and then I went back and continued my gig.
Okay, so it was 6 months, and it was a really nice high-end hotel doing jazz with a couple of local guys, right?
Yeah, actually, the drummer was from Switzerland, and the bass player was from Norway.
I pulled a picture up, and I'm not sure, you may not be able to see it, but I pulled a picture up of this off your Facebook page, and this may not be it, but it's a picture of you playing with a drummer and a bass player and you're playing a grand piano in a really nice club called Orange Peel or something. It's not
Orange Peel. Okay, that would have been more recent.
Oh, okay.
And that was in Hong Kong.
Okay. But going back to the Bangkok story, so when that gig finished, then what happened?
Well, let me tell you a little more about that gig.
Okay, yeah.
It turned out the bass player is a world-class bass player. He spent years playing with Dexter Gordon and Chet Baker, and I found myself in this trio situation where all I had to do was play piano with 2 of Europe's best musicians.
Wow.
And we would hang out until all hours of the night, as you do in Bangkok. You finish the gig at 1,
Mm-hmm.
and you get home at 6. We used to go out and play pool together, and got to know everybody out on the streets of Bangkok, and it was fantastic. It was a fairy tale. It was great.
So now, in terms of pay and living there, what was it like? The difference? Were you making decent money, and it was easy to live and afford and have a place to stay and eat food and everything?
Yeah. Now, of course, Bangkok or Thailand it's a third world country.
Mm-hmm.
Although Bangkok is certainly a first world city, but basically the country is third world. So the scale of pay might be 1/4 of what it is in the United States.
Okay.
But the cost of living might be 1/5 or 1/6 of what it is in the United States. So in relative terms, it's pretty easy to live there. Food is everywhere on the street. Most fantastic food you ever had. Cheap, I'm back at the time, it was like, 50 cents for, some chicken fried rice. It was delicious.
Right. So I'm thinking, I'm kind of wrapping my brain around this and remembering what we were doing in the late 90s and early 2000, and
Right.
the kind of, and even when I was on gigs with you, we would talk about the rat race and what you had to go through and the money you had to make in order to make ends meet, and driving to the gigs and the gigs we would do. And it was this stress level that was really high. I know we talked about those kinds of things. So the way you're describing this to me already sounds like you go from a really high stress, high level, get to your gig racing to a thing that's really easy going. And it was a more of a comfortable, not have to worry about making ends meet, and sort of more relaxed environment right off the bat.
Yeah. There is a cohesion to the cities out here that you would never dream of normally. Well, now, first of all, you can do without a car. A car is an option because there's public transportation that actually works. The taxis are cheap. You just pick up a taxi anytime. You never think about what it's going to cost. And of course, in all of these cities, they're building fantastic train systems and subways. All of these cities are doing that. So right away, having a car is not an expense. It's not a hassle.
And did you had a steady gig, so you didn't really have to worry about hauling gear and equipment. You could just go to the gig.
Well, that's another thing. In all of these Asian cities, in all of the clubs and the hotels, equipment is provided. It's there.
Wow.
I don't move equipment unless there's a piece of equipment I want to move. Like if I'm playing an organ gig, I'll want to take my Nord that has a good organ sound.
Mm-hmm.
Or if there's a particular thing. But basically, moving a PA, unheard of.
Really?
Drum kit, there's always a drum kit there. Maybe the drummer brings his cymbals and maybe his snare drum if he wants.
Yeah.
Amplifiers, bass amp and guitar amp, always there, everywhere in Asia.
So I could go there with a pair of sticks and I'd be fine.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
But of course, I'd have to.
You'd want your own ride cymbal, and maybe a snare drum.
Yeah, but of course I would have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd have to be able to play okay, but so I might not get the gig, but already you're making it sound appealing. I'm already wanting to move because I have no money, no gigs now, especially now, and but.
At the moment, I have no gigs whatsoever.
And let's jump. I don't want to miss all the stuff in between, but now, how is it right now? And what had you been doing in Hong Kong? A similar kind of gig in Hong Kong?
Hong Kong has been different. I moved here in 2008. I was actually in New York for a couple of years before that.
Okay.
And I didn't like it. I didn't want to stay. I came back here and I got an apartment in 2008, and I'm still in that apartment.
Oh.
And Hong Kong, I'm freelance here, and since I've been a good boy and kept my visas in order and everything, I'm now a permanent lifetime resident of Hong Kong.
Really? So let me ask you a question though, and I'm not sure when it switched over from England or British rule to China. And were you there during that? And when did that happen?
That was in 1997.
Oh, so this came
So
way, yeah, that's already
I
done.
came well after that. Yeah.
But have the laws and everything still remained similar to what they were before?
Yeah. For the most part, yes.
Yeah. So during do you ever feel any, and I'm not to get political about this, I mean, but do you ever feel any kind of weird stuff from politically living there?
Actually, uh, no. Only lately, when since there's been all of this protesting, um, that's been uncomfortable.
Mm.
And I don't think that's as much a political issue as it's a local identity issue. Hong Kongers don't want to identify with China. Um, this is a very long, detailed story.
Mm.
So it's been uncomfortable having riots down the street. But other than that, I've never felt any political pressure. And I've lived in Shanghai and I've been in Beijing for a lot of problems. And you would be amazed how normal you would feel there.
So
I've never felt any political problem. No.
And have you ever felt any kind of like reversed racism or like, hey, you Yankee, go home kind of thing?
No. First of all, Asian people are not confrontational like that. If they don't like you, it might be expressed more in passive aggressive. They'll just ignore you if they don't like you. There's nothing overt like that.
Not like the kind of stuff we feel in the States. Not at all. So,
oh, I've got a lot of stories to tell you, Jeff.
Oh, well, well, you know, I want to get to one, but let me remind you, and I was just thinking about this before we went live. You were with me when you and I believe it was you and I and Nick Beard played some cigar party. Do you remember this in Menlo Park? It was just you and me and him. I'm pretty sure it was you. And it was a cigar party. These white guys sitting drinking brandy and smoking cigars in Menlo Park, and they got up and the guy told a black joke, and I said, "That's it." We packed up and walked out. And I'm pretty sure you were on that gig because you were doing all those little trios and stuff with me at the time, and so. I mean, what I'm getting at is that's the kind of tension and stuff that we feel here. And even now we're getting all of this, you're China, go home, China, go home, that kind of stuff. And so what I'm getting at is you don't feel that kind of thing from those people there. That's not in their makeup. They don't have that kind of thing towards people.
No, they just don't. Not to say that they're not racist. I mean, I think everybody is at a certain level or not, but there's nothing overt about it. God, I certainly have never had a problem. I mean, maybe some of the local Hong Kong guys don't hire me; they'll hire their own first. Is that racism? I don't know.
But you don't feel
sometimes I would have deserved the gig, and they hire somebody who's lame, because he's their bro. But that's not exactly racism.
No. Well, that happens here. It happens here. People will hire somebody because they're a friend, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's racist or anything.
Right.
Yeah. When you play, though, do you get more respect for your musicianship and playing there than you do here? What we're getting here?
That's a difficult question. I mean, you play gigs on all kinds of levels. You might be playing a hotel gig where you're anonymous and meant to be anonymous. You're just, the music, and other gigs where you're playing concerts and people are listening. More respect.
No,
That's a hard question to
yeah,
answer.
yeah. Well, you, this,
I think people here are basically a little more respectful. I think
mm,
society is just a little more cohesive here.
right. When
Uh,
I guess what I'm getting at, does it feel like they appreciate the arts a little more than here in the United States?
the arts. Well, again, if you're playing in a hotel, you might be playing great,
Mm,
and you might be
yeah.
totally ignored. You might play for the same people in a situation where they say this is a concert, this is a a world famous jazz musician, and people will listen and meet you. It
Oh, right.
depends what they're prompted.
Yeah.
I think that's everywhere too.
Yeah.
Um, and also I play for a lot of expats. I'm not just playing for Hong Kong people here.
Hmm.
All of these cities have large groups of people from around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, there's really no generalization there. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
my audience might be a couple of Italians and a German and four Cantonese Chinese, and
Yeah. So
you know,
basic.
it's not all Asian, is what I'm
Right.
saying.
All right. So basically, I guess what I'm hearing is it's really not much different than playing in San Francisco in many ways, other than maybe the living conditions and the government.
Yeah, as far as playing,
Hmm.
in fact, I would say that what I've been doing the last 12 years in Hong Kong was pretty much how San Francisco was for me in the 80s and 90s,
Mm,
when there was lots of work around, lots of clubs. You just waited for the phone to ring,
hmm.
and singers would call me up and say, "Hey, I'm making a record. I need somebody to arrange it and produce it."
Hmm.
And I did a bunch of records like that.
Hmm.
um, by the late 90s, we could feel that really tapering off in San Francisco.
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm feeling now here.
Hmm.
Uh, I sort of got an extra 20 years of really active playing by coming out here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now I kind of the riots. So the riots that you live really close to that in kind of the heart of it a little bit.
No.
No.
I mean, you take a look at any city block where there's maybe 1,000 blocks,
Mm-hmm.
and the riots are taking place on three or four of them. Well, you
Mm,
just don't go there.
right. And then in the recent with all the shutdown of the with the coronavirus, does how is that going there? It sounds to what I'm hearing in the news that it's much different the way they handled it there than here. And what's the firsthand experience of that when you go out there? Is it have they always worn masks? It's kind of a thing that the culture over there does more so than the United States already, I think.
I think the local Hong Kong people have adapted to wearing masks. Uh, I rebel against it. I don't like wearing a mask. I put a
Hmm.
mask on and I feel like somebody's choking me.
Right.
Although I do wear a mask. I do it sometimes. Sometimes I do it just to be polite. And if I'm in a crowded situation on a subway car or something, and everybody's wearing a mask, well, I'll put a mask on.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but the locals don't seem to mind it. It's
Hmm.
um,
Even with the coronavirus thing, was there a big kind of lockdown in the coronavirus stuff?
well, I don't think it's too much different from what's going on there.
Okay.
Bars and restaurants are pretty much closed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Essential work continues. I mean, people still go to their banks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Subways are still running, but people are not encouraged to congregate in groups. You're supposed to, if you go on a picnic, make it four people. Don't make it five. I don't think it's too much different from what's going on there.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the numbers are going down a lot here.
Wow. Okay.
Active cases are very low. And in China, they've pretty much cleaned it up at
That
this point.
that's amazing. And there hasn't been protests, and everybody's just been behaving and I mean, to go back. So what we're having here right now are the protests of, go back to work, open up the country, and we're still in the middle of the cases escalating in some instances.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think Asian people are a little more polite and adaptable and not apt to protest as much. Although that's not true with the latest Hong Kong riots. That's been totally over the top.
mm,
Um,
it,
yeah, I don't know. I'm not enjoying the whole experience. For one thing, my gigs are kaput, gone.
yeah,
And from
yeah,
what I hear from every musician in the world, it's kind of the same thing.
the same.
Cl-
Do you?
Clubs are closed. And there's nobody, no marriage,
Yeah.
no nothing.
No, in any
No
part of the world,
income.
right? None at all. And here's the thing, and we've all been talking about everywhere. And do you remember Chuck Wansley? He was in the Bay Area for a short time, singer.
Uh, vaguely.
He
It's been a long time.
he moved to Prague, and I did this same thing with him in Prague. And everything is shut down there, but the government is taking care of the citizens there and paying them all 60% of their wages, and people aren't stressed and worried about getting back to work. But the idea of musicians, we were all kind of like the first people to get cut, and
Right.
we'll be like the last people to come back.
Right.
And
Right.
even though I'm 61 now, and I've had this conversation. We'll get a job and go do that, and then I'm going, what? This is all I've ever. I don't have any skill set that can get me anything other than music or doing sound. I don't, and as work comes back, what are we supposed to do when we're, this is all we've done is played piano or something all of our lives? I mean, it feels in some ways a little bit of a daunting thought.
It's very daunting.
Yeah.
The government is taking care of lots of people in Hong Kong,
Mm-hmm.
but freelance musicians, there's no classification for that,
Right.
Well, music has not gotten any better over the years as far as financial security.
Right.
And I'm very lucky that I have an outside extra thing.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because so in the moving around of all of the stuff through Asia there, and experiencing the people, and I, for one, and before you left, I remember having a conversation with you about how much we appreciate Asian women. Right. So, right. I mean, I have an appreciation for him, and you get over there. So now you are in all these countries with around all these Asian women, and you've now and you love being there from that point of view as a white guy. My experience with just to be blunt, I don't have good success stories with American Californian women. So Jimmy Sanchez showed me a picture of this nice little hut out in his village. It actually had a mattress already. He goes, "Here you go," and I go, "I'll be over. Just put my name on it, mark a spot." And so anyway, I guess what I'm getting at, you not only were you planning on moving around, but you were having social experience, getting to know the people, and becoming friends, and making partnerships. And then you were telling me you opened this other business. And so do you have any stories around all that stuff? Because that's what I'd like to hear.
Do I have any stories?
Yes, please.
Well, okay. Well, Jimmy is living out in the country, and he's living a more retired lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm quite opposite in a way. I am a city person. I love just getting out and getting on the subway and going somewhere and meeting lots of people and playing every night and staying out late.
Yeah.
Our lifestyles are 100% different.
Yeah.
And he's settled down with one woman that's, working perfectly for him.
Right.
And, I've had relationships out here. I actually had one short marriage to a Japanese lady.
Mm-hmm.
but every country, you might talk about Asia. Boy, when you say Asia, that's like saying, Europe plus Africa. I mean, every
Right.
country is so different, and the styles are so different, and the mores are different. You know,
Yeah.
um, I, I've always felt that my heart in Asia is more in Thailand than anywhere else.
Mm.
And I've actually bought a condo there, which I go to for an escape. Every 3 months or so, I'll go down for a week.
Eh,
Um,
Where is the condo?
it's in Bangkok.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's in Bangkok. Bangkok is a huge, fantastic city. It's the size of Los Angeles.
Hmm.
It's modern. It has everything you want. You would not miss a single article of life that you have where you are in
Hmm.
Bangkok.
Hmm.
Bangkok it's the most visited city in the world for the
Wow.
last 4 years.
Wow.
More people go through Bangkok and stay at least one night than in London or Paris. It's a huge city.
Hmm.
Um, the shopping centers there are like nothing you've ever seen. They're
Hmm.
fun for one
Yeah.
thing. Um, it's just a great rockin' city. It
Hmm.
stays open all night. They're building trains all over the place. People are friendly. Um, it's not dangerous. In fact, any Asian city I can mention, totally not dangerous. I never think of looking over my shoulder anywhere.
Wow. Unlike like parts of New York City and Los Angeles and what
Yeah,
yeah.
actually, New York City is very safe these days.
Yeah.
They've really made a change there. I
Mhm.
didn't feel unsafe in
Mm.
Manhattan, at least.
Right. Yeah. I
Yeah,
only felt a little uncomfortable in Brooklyn, in parts of Brooklyn, but New York City on the most part.
yeah, it's pretty safe now.
Yeah. Yeah. S- So anyway,
Um,
so you
well,
have
let's see. Okay, just two things to give you some background.
yeah.
All of these Asian cities here, Singapore, Bangkok, Shanghai, Tokyo, they're like going from one to another is like going from states. It's like maybe a 2 hour plane ride.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really not far apart. For me to go down to Bangkok is like you know it's a 2 hour flight and then I'm there.
It's like going from San
And
Francisco to Los Angeles, maybe,
yeah,
or
San Francisco to San Diego or
yeah.
something. And the other thing is that I don't really speak the languages out here. I know a little bit, enough to get by here and there. But mainly I'm dealing with people who speak English, especially in the music world. And of course, you get to know the English speaking musicians in every one of these cities
Mm.
because we're always moving from one to another. I can work from one city to another. And, as we speak English, we're used to speaking English only to Americans and people who have American mindset.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm speaking English to people, I'm speaking to Italians and Germans and Australians and Brazilians,
Mm.
Cubans. So when I'm speaking English, I'm constantly speaking to someone with a thick accent and a different point of view, even though it's the same language. I'm absorbing so much of Europe while I'm here and the
Mm.
rest of the world as well. That's a side benefit.
Yeah, that's I never thought of it that way, and it's more of a melting pot in that regard than maybe San Francisco.
Yeah. Now, San Francisco does have a lot of people from around the world, but when you're the person who lives there, it's like you're up here and they're all kind of down here.
Mm.
But the way I am here is we're all kind of on the same level. I'm an American or an Italian or this or that. So there's
Oh,
no, you see, in America, you're dominant, but here, maybe not.
yeah.
And you might assume that we're all going to get along because we're speaking English, but then you discover that the Australians are very cliquish and they'll never hire me for a gig. A lot of them, and so it goes. And I get
Yeah.
along really well with the German people I've met, which was to my surprise. I never had a strong feeling for the culture, but the German people I meet, they have a great sense of humor and
Yeah.
they're fun to be with. Uh,
Yeah. Well,
so I'm really absorbing the world here.
Well, I like that. And one thing that you described, which is I think that a lot of Americans, especially as we live here, don't realize that we act and treat people as if we are the higher species, if you will, or we are above you, and sort of talk that if a lot of times it may not be said, but it's felt. And
Mm.
I experienced the same thing way back at a young age when I traveled on a cruise ship and went to some other countries. When, as you were describing, I'm in this country as a foreigner, the way they're in this country as a foreigner. So
Exactly.
that's a different feeling than when, okay, this is my town. This is my town. I own this town. Like in
Hmm.
San Francisco. Um,
Right.
so it kind of made as you were telling the story, I was thinking about, yeah, that would feel different because you're not coming from like, well, this is my town. I mean, I'm a foreigner amongst foreigners.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of what we have wrong in this country. We're better. We're better than.
Yeah. Well, they say, I don't know if it's better than, but I would use, they talk about American exceptionalism.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
It's in my viewpoint, that's not a good thing.
Right. So I want to interject. There are a few people watching, people who that want to say hi. Do you know Tom Markin?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
he
Hey,
says
Tom.
hi,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and Jamie Brewer.
Uh huh.
Okay, and Reed Watley.
Read. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so they're saying like, hey, they're chiming in, they're watching. So that's kind of cool, you know. So anyway, I want to. I keep interrupting you, but back to your stories about living there and being there, and then into your other business and stuff that you're doing.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay. Well, about 5 years ago, I was my girlfriend was from Thailand,
mm-hmm.
and she's been living in Hong Kong. She comes from the poorest of the poor. I mean, her family was so poor, she has no pictures of herself before the age of 11 because no one in her village could afford a camera.
Wow.
And she grew up and had a couple of kids and had to take care of them as a single mom and moved to Bangkok and actually worked building skyscrapers, laying bricks and stuff.
Wow.
Came to Hong Kong, swept out shopping centers in the middle of the night, did jobs like that, taking care of her kids the whole time, and eventually learned massage. And I met her in having a massage.
Hmm.
And we started going out. And after I knew her for a year or so, she said, if you could help me start my own massage business, I'll make us some money. And normally I would say, yeah, sure, fat chance. For some reason, for some reason, I said, I believe in you. Let's try it. And so we rented a little place right in the center of Hong Kong. It would be kind of like Powell Street, San Francisco.
Hmm.
And rented a tiny shop there, renovated it, put a sign out. I had to learn a little bit about doing business, about going to get signs and
Hmm.
where do you go to buy the towels and where do you go for the business papers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an instant success, and we're making money. And 6 months later, she said, "Let's open another shop." So we did, and now we have three shops.
Wow.
So I'm half owner of three Thai massage shops on the side, and I get to know all these people. We have masseuses constantly coming and going from Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
They all like to cook together. It's very family kind of thing. So that's my sideline outside of music.
And has that been shut down based on all of this?
It is shut down at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes,
But I'm going to guess that that's going to come back before music,
absolutely.
right?
One week after you turn the sign on, it'll be back.
Yeah, without question. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because I found a place locally, and it's Mostly Chinese ladies. Uh-oh. Are you there?
Oh, let me see if I can.
We lost our signal.
Okay, are we
Oh,
back?
there we are. Yes, we're back. That
Okay,
was cool. How'd you do
yeah.
that?
I pressed a red button that was flashing.
Oh, okay. Um,
Yeah.
is there something that happens like after we talk a certain length of time on this platform? I mean, on the have you ever called on Facebook like this before?
Um, Actually, I don't think so. No.
No. So I wonder if there isn't something that says, "Oh, you've talked too long," and then it. Oh, that's interesting.
No.
Oh,
No. Actually, that was somebody calling me.
oh, I got you. Okay.
So I just yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I found this. There's this Chinese lady, and she's really good. You like she gets takes her elbow and digs it into my muscles and everything. And I go like before now, I was going at least once every 2 weeks, and she was she wasn't trained, but she had enough training and knew muscles enough and cared enough that she would actually work the muscles in, especially down the side between my shoulders, and she would be
Hmm.
able to dig in with her elbows. And it was $40 for an hour. And I'm like, oh my
Hmm.
God, here, if you go to the regular places, it's like 120, for that. And then you got to give a big tip and all this stuff. And
And,
so
and and they'll give it a fancy name like living polarity massage or something.
right,
Right.
right. And you know what, in all honesty, a lot of those places that have quote unquote trained masseuses are worse than the lady the little Chinese lady that gets in there with the elbow. She just she goes, is this hurt? And I go like, no, thank you for getting that muscle worked out. I mean, it
Yeah.
really is. And now I called over there and they said, no, we're closed. And I said, and he said, everybody's actually scared. They are afraid of catching something, so
Right.
they don't necessarily want to jump back to work until they know it's safe for them too,
Right.
so do you think that will be an issue once everything comes back? Or, I mean, how would you safely do that to make people feel comfortable? I don't think it'll be an issue, but
I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. People have been, they've been locked up too long. They
yeah,
want to go out.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Everybody wants to get back to work.
yeah. Now, uh, I'm fascinated by by that and the condo in Bangkok. I think if all of that works okay and you don't play, I think you're pretty set. From my point of view, I'm going, man, I would even open up more shops. I would, it, and then if you get a gig, okay. But I honestly, I quit playing myself because I was making more money doing sound. There's more sound gigs than there were playing gigs, right? So I could potentially do sound for all of the bands. Now, a sound gig for me wouldn't work there because nobody needs sound because it's all installed, it sounds like.
Well, no, there are gigs for sound people too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there are sound companies.
Uh-huh.
For specific occasions and stuff. I mean, you need a high end system or something. Yeah, of course, there's that too.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good news. But that would be more like a tour or something, or a more of a arena show, or.
Well, just it could be function gigs,
Mm,
weddings.
mm-hmm.
There are certainly a lot of places that don't have setups.
Oh,
You know,
well,
but I mean, certainly if it's a club, a regular club in town, it's got equipment. It's got
yeah.
a drum set that stays there and a PA that stays there.
Okay. So, what if I didn't haul equipment? I wouldn't need a car because there's the transportation system is much better in all of those cities, actually, right?
All of them, all of them.
They're all made easy to get around without a car.
Yeah.
The,
No, I mean, if you want to haul, a drum set, of course, you need a car, and the local guys here who grew up in at least middle class families, they have cars and they live a little further out.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I like living right in the middle of the city. I like all the color and the noise and the
Yeah.
interest. I just can't get enough.
I got to tell you, I never thought that I would like New York City until my daughter went and started working there, and I went to visit her, and I fell in love with just what you described, and being in the city and not having to drive and just getting on a train and getting somewhere and being around people. And I actually feel if and tell me if this doesn't kind of fit. I feel um, comfortable and alone and by myself. But if I want to talk to somebody, all I got to do is reach next to me and start talking.
Yeah.
And there was some comfort to me in that, where um, I don't have to talk to anybody, and I felt just fine. And by like I was alone, but if I wanted to talk, I could.
Yeah.
So I've always liked cities on that, alone. And I think that when my oldest daughter here gets, when she graduates from high school, then my, I'm kind of done doing my duty of keeping the house and doing all that stuff. And I kind of would like to go to a city and just chill somewhere. And I'm
Hmm.
not so sure that the United States is where I want to be anymore. I mean, honestly.
Right.
And,
Well, New York is really the only city that kind of is pretty similar to Asian cities in that way.
eh,
San Francisco used to be, if you could just stay in San Francisco itself.
mm,
But now, if you live in San Francisco, your town is Walnut Creek and San Jose and Santa Rosa, and you're driving all around there.
right.
So it's not the way it used to be.
No, unfortunately, and I don't know how close you stay talking to all those people, or anybody still in San Francisco. It's changed so much that there's no room for an artist kind of person like us to just get a regular old little apartment or something somewhere and work. There's no room for that. We couldn't afford it,
Right.
and we've been driven out.
Well, the whole world is changing. I mean, every place you go, you could say in the last 20 years,
Yeah.
it's incredible the changes. Hong Kong is ridiculously expensive. It's
Mm.
San Francisco level. Bangkok is cheap. My gosh, what a great place to live.
Well, you kind of sold me on
And
Bang.
eventually I'll move there. Eventually I will. When I can start collecting I have a little bit of social security, and my apartment is paid for there, and it's beautiful, and I have a rooftop, and I have a swimming pool down below,
Mm.
and it's in a Thai village, and it's close to the subway stop. I mean, it's fantastic. And there's actually a lot more music happening in Bangkok than there is in Hong Kong.
Really?
There. See, the king of Thailand was a alto saxophone player,
Really?
and he loved jazz, and he would bring over people like Louis Armstrong and James Moody. I saw him bring over James Moody for his birthday once.
Wow.
This was about 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So he has spread a consciousness of jazz in Thailand that is kind of rare. Now there are 3 universities in Bangkok that have jazz programs.
Really?
And they're turning out some nice players too.
Would you be able to teach in a place like that?
I probably could. Now I don't have any teaching degree at all, and I think universities would probably prefer that I did.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I could get into teaching there. There are expat Americans there who are teaching.
Yeah, you might be, or at least give private lessons, somehow there,
sure.
because you're such an amazing player and certainly have all the knowledge you need.
Yeah, well, I gave some private lessons in the times that I lived there.
Yeah,
and I could do that.
Yeah. Not. I just don't. It's hard to imagine performing, coming back well for another year at least. I don't think. Just
Yeah, I think you're right.
and only because it's not that people aren't going to want to go back out, but how long is it going to be before they're actually going to throw a party or have an event or do something in which is they're going to say, oh, well, let's get a band.
Yeah.
They're gonna stay small and just
They're going to say, oh, maybe we should just go for a DJ this
yeah.
time. Yeah.
And they were
And
already
same with clubs. They're not going to want to commit to, supporting bands and stuff for a while.
right, right.
And there's all this generational shift also. The
Yeah,
younger people, they didn't grow up listening to live music. They don't
no,
know what it is to be a fan of live musicians and what the joy of all of that we take for granted,
yeah.
and so there's that to contend with too.
Do you feel so do you see a lot of that, especially with the younger people over there, because you're living there amongst it now? Where Jimmy's living, it's just different. People are just not in any of that mindset. But where you are, do you see all the kids walking around on their phones, and they're all in that kind of the way they are here? And the idea, and I've had this conversation with almost every musician, and my daughter is proof. There's an idea that if I want a song, I just download it, I just get it, I get it on YouTube or wherever. And what pay? What you mean you pay for music? Who pays for music? So kids are coming up with that sort of mindset. So there's this idea that music and the performance of music, unless it's a giant star like K-pop, my daughter is completely into K-pop, and it's huge here, and the BTS and those sort of things. And those people are charging a lot of money. She'll pay for that, but everything else is kind of, why would I want to go pay see anybody?
Mm-hmm.
So,
This is worldwide.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, is this is this what when we were kids, and we were looking at all the old people sitting there going like, yeah, you guys, it wasn't like, no, we're the old guys sitting there like, yeah, man, we're seeing the writing on the wall sort of.
Well, yeah, it's true. I never considered the idea of retirement. I always thought, I just want to work until I die. If I'm
Right.
100 years old, I still want to be doing it. But now I realize retirement is just not a matter of my choice. It's a matter of maybe society doesn't want me to be working. Maybe it doesn't have the places for me. Maybe it wants me to be off on the side. It's not entirely up to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
My surroundings have changed out from under me, and can I adapt to it? Do I want to adapt to the future styles and stuff?
It's interesting.
Maybe not.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because Jamie Brewer and I were having that same conversation. I mean, what if we can't play anymore? And it's not a personal thing with you, and it's not a personal thing with me, but what if, because of where we are in our life and where the world is right now, what if we don't play anymore? I mean, what if it just kind of gets to the point where in 6 months I've had to start doing something else in order to make money, and what will I do? And what if I can't play anymore? And it's not that far fetched that we might get thrust into that, not by our choice, but just because, like you were saying, circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't, I'd quit playing because I was doing sound, and I'm sort of looking at, okay, well, if nobody's working, I don't need a sound guy,
Yeah.
so it's either way, I'm toast, as a musician or a sound guy. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to learn some technical, video kind of thing here, and maybe, learn something about this and be able to make some money. I don't know, but it's not, it's kind of hard, what do you do?
Whatever you can think of is probably have something to do with computers.
Right.
And I'm not the most computer happy guy. I don't enjoy spending all my time learning the latest software programs and stuff. It frustrates the hell out of me.
Yeah, me too.
There's certain ones that I've gotten down that work for me well and all of that, but I don't want to have to be constantly upgrading my skills, which basically just comes down to being a typist who's with his eyes glued to a screen. I don't want to spend my whole entire life with that.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at you and Jimmy. I'm going like, okay, you two guys are my role models. Now, which do I want to pick? The country life, or it's kind of like Green Acres. Do I want the country life or do I want the city life? And both sort of appeal to me.
Mm-hmm.
Over there, especially. And I guess mainly because, and Thailand, because I've heard so much of Thailand, and just the fact that the financial rat race isn't so seem to be so heavily there. Um, and back to that, how in terms of finances in Hong Kong and things being so expensive, are you able? Is the pay scale enough to be able to afford the expensive living in Hong Kong?
It has been. It has been. I as far as the future, maybe not.
Mm,
One thing is the rents are extremely high here, but there's a lot of flexibility with the cost of food and transportation and everything else.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Uh, all these Asian cities are great for food, street food. I love it. You know, just what you see, what somebody's making here and there. I'll have some of that. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, yeah,
And every Asian city I've ever been in, you need a taxi, just take one. Don't think about how much it costs. It's going to be $3, or $4. Don't worry.
yeah.
And subways, trains. They're really into trains.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at the point where I don't even like being in a car by myself anymore. I like being on a subway car. I like looking at all the people. I like looking at their expressions. I'm a photographer. I'm a street photographer.
What?
I
What?
like to capture candid faces
You
and
know,
expressions.
I saw one picture, and it was I can't now pull it up off Facebook, but there was a really cool picture that, and I'm guessing you must have took it of have taken it of a little pond and a boat and these little brick kind of like walls around it and a mountain in the background and everything. And I looked at that picture and I thought, God, that's beautiful. I mean, it just, and I do have one picture. Yeah, I have one picture of you, and I'm gonna put this up. Let's see. It's a picture of you in front of a big old palace, white looking church kind of thing. And it's sort of orange and white with a gray top in front and a pond, almost like a moat looking around it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's beautiful, and I'm thinking, it's got to be really pretty over there in the country and everything.
Yeah, yeah, and of course there's a lot of concrete jungle too. I mean, these cities are enormous.
Mm.
Um, I'm used to it though because I look at the people.
You know, overall, let me just ask this. Overall, is the feeling of the people more friendly than the feeling of the people? And no, I know we got lots of friends here in the United States and everything, but if I'm to go to a foreign country, it feels like as a foreigner, I would be accepted more there than as a foreigner coming to the United States.
There's layers to the onion on that. Maybe superficially, uh, people are more polite and general, and
Mm,
more gentle and polite, just generally.
mm,
Anger is not something that they you like to express confrontationally. It's just not so acceptable there.
mm,
Whereas in America, we almost treasure the right to be able to be in your face.
mm-hmm.
Well, that's not the way Asian culture came up. So there's a veneer of gentleness and politeness and niceness, which is great. I love it. But as far as any one person, getting to know them on deeper levels, you might get involved in all kinds of pathologies. I mean, people are people,
Right, right.
but but on the surface and day to day, as you go about what you're doing, yeah, people are nice and gentle, and they like to smile. And the Thais are just fantastic. I mean, they just love to smile and they love to engage with you.
Yeah.
Um, it's very surprising in China. people are like that too.
Hmm.
Um, China is, in China, probably nobody knows this. China is probably about the safest country in the world.
Wow.
Um, you're not going to get your pocket picked there. You're not going to get mugged. It just That's just not a thing there.
Something that just occurred to me now. Weren't you studying or didn't you or Buddhism or anything like that spiritually a little?
Well, yeah, I've felt an affinity for Buddhism since I was a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been practicing it as far as chanting and meditating
Mm-hmm.
for many many years. Yeah.
And are you easily to find people like that around there? I'm guessing it will be easier to find that sort of environment or people of the same mindset around you there.
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Buddhism has kind of formed the underlying character of the whole place.
Mm-hmm.
Outwardly, you might stop someone on the street and say, are you a Buddhist? And they would say, I'm not religious. I mean, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Um,
So I have another.
in fact, people might make more of being a Buddhist in the West than they would here. Here, it's kind of taken for granted. It's like what you grew up. It's what everybody grew up with.
Oh, okay. All right. Kind of like everybody, or at least where I grew up, everybody grew up being a Catholic or a Lutheran. It was just understood that you were one of those two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I've always thought that Buddhism is not something that you belong to. It's more of a state of mind. It's not a collective entity. It's not something that you well, it's not something that you belong to. It's not a group. It's a way of thinking and processing the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And that helped you a lot being over there.
Well, probably I was drawn to Asia for the same reason I was drawn to Buddhism many, many years ago, back when I was in the States. And when I came here, I instantly, when I got off the steps of the plane, I felt like, oh, I can dig this.
Yeah.
No big adjustment.
No. Hey, can you believe we've already been talking? We're almost at an hour. Does it feel like a while for you? I mean, I know it's early there. I know it's really early for you. So, and I have a hard time in the morning. So
it's not even the crack of noon yet. It's just past.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean this is pretty easy to do.
Yeah,
what we're doing here.
Yeah. So do you remember? I know she was a good friend of yours, Kaylee Guida.
Sure.
Are you? Have you ever been in touch with her at all?
Yeah, actually, we do stay in touch. Yeah.
So,
great gal.
Yeah. So you had me call her one time, and she was one of the first people that I talked to and she was she wouldn't I necessarily call her a psychic, but she was able to see things. And I called her one time at your recommendation, and she took my call. And I still own this big white Chevy van that I haul all of my gear in, right? That to all my band stuff, and I owned it at the time. And the first thing she said is, all I can see is you driving in some big white truck really, really fast. You better slow down.
Wow.
And I'm like, how'd you know that? She goes, yeah, I see it. I can see it. So anyway, I always think of that every now and then. When I think of you, I remember that. And I remember the days when we were working back here, and I always wanted to know how you were doing over there in Hong Kong, and I so want to go. I I don't know what I do there. I don't have enough money to get there. I don't have enough money to be there, but I so want to go.
Well, the way I started this whole thing in 1998, I just said, I've got to see Asia. And I just bought a package tour, 2 weeks. Go to Thailand for 2 weeks.
Hmm.
Okay, fly to Thailand. They put you in a hotel. They take you on a bus from this city to that city. I just to see it. That's how I got started. And I remember getting on the plane on the way back in the airport, there was a band playing in a lounge over there. And I looked at them and I waved to them and they waved back. And I realized this is not so difficult. This is not so insurmountable.
Yeah. And you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where there's a will, there's a way. I mean, 6 months after that, Lauren Lieber called me up and he said, "Hey, I've got a gig in Taiwan playing for a pop star in Taiwan. You want to do it?" So I went
No.
with Lauren. We also went with Brian Pardo and Nelson Braxton
Mm-hmm.
and Ed McClary.
Yeah.
A bunch of us went there. We were in Taiwan for a month, had a blast.
Oh man.
Now, how did that happen? Just 6 months after my first trip there, and I'm thinking, how do I get back and get this call? And then 6 months after that, I got a call to go play in Beijing for 3 months, and I played in Beijing, and I started to get to know the network of musicians out here. And somebody called me from Bangkok and said, "Hey, you want to do this trio gig?"
Yeah.
And it just fell into place. It really, I didn't have to spend a lot of energy networking and stuff. It's just I wanted it, and it fell in.
It almost sounds like you thought it into being. It's you thought about it and you just sort of put the mindset out and just drew it to you.
I guess so. I mean, I didn't even think about it that consciously. I just knew that I wanted it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Man.
And I remember thinking it was at the end of the '90s, and at that point, we could see the music business was sort of getting a lot less.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I thought to myself, I've done every different musical project and style that I've ever thought of. I've played in salsa bands, I've recorded bebop, I've done, played the pop thing, I've done synthesizer recording tracks and this and that. And I said, oh, I could do something else.
Yeah.
And then as it happened, I've been busy as a musician out here ever since. There's been hardly any slow points really.
That's fantastic. So, all the way up till now. Now, here's the beautiful thing, and we've been at an hour, so I'm going to wrap it up and let you go in a second. But I want to say it sounds like, and thank you for taking the time to talk to me about all this stuff and put up with even my political questions and stuff. Because that's some of the stuff that I would want to know. Like, okay, what's that like there? What's that like there? And
well, at least you've kept it politically correct.
Well, I mean, I could go.
We could go way over the line if you want.
Yeah, yeah, but there's. Well, we could, but then we'd never stop talking. We like that. Damn it, son. Yeah. But it sort of sounds you worked a lot, and based on your musicianship, there was no reason why you wouldn't work because you're a great player. So you had all the gigs, and the cool thing that I think I just want to say is the fact that you got this other business going, and it is a business that is going to work and be successful to carry you through especially now when the work may not come back. I wish I had something set up like that, and I don't. It would be really cool to have something to go, okay, I'll be fine because when this comes back, that business will work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really happy for you from that perspective, not from the perspective of just the gigging thing, but at least financially it'll be fine, and you've got the nice place in Bangkok, and it's not going to be. It's like you're losing everything.
Yeah, on one hand, I could say, God, I've had an extremely lucky life.
Mm-hmm.
But as a Buddhist, you wouldn't say that. You would say, well, I created it.
Right. Well, exactly.
I made it happen.
Yeah.
It's not luck really. or you create luck.
Yeah, well, and I would agree with that. We all make our own world and shape it one way or another, either consciously or unconsciously.
Right.
The fact that you've had this successful run over there had nothing to do with luck, really. I mean, from my belief system now, it's been something that you've worked hard at, and your thought process, and how you conduct your business and everything, and you brought it to you. I mean, for because I have to look back kind of like on until now, when I'm almost penniless. It's a weird spot to be where I'm at, where I'm relying on somebody loaning me money to get through every couple of weeks. It's just there just is no cash, nothing. And to be in at that point after the career, if you would look back at what I did, you go like, holy shit, dude. I mean, that was cool what you did. And yet I have nothing to show for it. I have, absolutely nothing in the pocket. And that's when I had my moment of like my crash and burn like a couple of weeks ago. And it was like, what do I have to show for everything that I did? Nothing but 3 healthy children. Which
well, that's a lot.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, and it took a lot to do that.
Yes, that is true.
You gave a tremendous amount to make that work.
Yeah. So that is true. And so, and I'm not trying to be like a downer here, but it's just, I'm looking at, moving forward, and I'm happy for you having something there that's somewhat tangible to move through this to and with. And for me, what I'll end up moving through it with is just my children, which is, and honestly, that's really all I really should care about right now anyway, is just my kids, so
that's all you should care about, Jeff.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it really. Oh, man. Oh, Bob, man, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. We actually,
man, my pleasure.
We had, these, it may have only been Tom and Jamie and Reed. Other people kind of like popped in here and there, but the beauty of what I've been doing here is, I put the show on Facebook, and, a handful of people might watch, but over a week or 2 weeks, people go back and watch them. And I had this friend call me from Nebraska, or text me from Nebraska. Hey, I've been listening to your shows when I go for my walk. I'll just pull one up and go for my walk. It's almost like a podcast. And people are learning stuff about, people in other parts of the world. And, we're just talking and letting people eavesdrop. So, yeah.
I believe in eavesdropping.
Well, yeah, and the government's listening anyway, so.
Yeah, it's have at it.
Right. Yeah. All right. So is this number that I texted you, is that do I have to do any kind, if I ever wanted to call you, do I have to do a 1 or a 0 or anything in front of that number?
I think, let's see, international is 00, right?
Right.
And then the country code is 852. Okay,
so maybe that's what, did I need to do something different? You got the text, right, on that?
I got the text, yeah. I can't look at the text right now.
Right.
But did you put in the country code, 852?
I didn't. Yeah, I put 852 and then the 8 digits after that.
And then the 8-digit number. Yeah, that should connect with me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
These days for most international calls, I just use Messenger. It's a free call.
Yeah, and that's like we're doing right now. And that's how I talked to Jimmy a couple of weeks back. We just talked like this. And it works great. The technology is really cool. And I was able to put it on a live stream. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So, if I ever want to call you, I'll call you on here, and you'll just
call me on Messenger. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Because when business comes back and I can get some money, I'm going to come over. I'm going to get a massage. I'm going to go hear some music. I get some good food, and I'll be in heaven.
Yeah, yeah.
That might be a couple years.
Well, they say uh, make sure make sure you see Thailand before you're an old man.
Okay, that maybe that should be my first spot. Maybe I should go to Thailand.
Yeah,
I
but like I say, all the cities around here, it's like going, from San Francisco to San Diego, or
okay.
it's not a big deal. You want to go to Singapore, Shanghai. It's
Okay.
2 hours, 2 hours. No
Shanghai
big
looks
deal.
fascinating too. That looks like a fascinating city.
Shanghai's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, maybe one time I'll call you and we'll have some other conversations that are, we not everybody's tuning in on.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, I actually have to cook my daughter dinner now after this. We do our late
Okay.
we do a late dinner because we both sleep in till like noon, and so we eat at like it's going to be 10 here, so or it's 9 something. So we'll eat, and then we go out for a drive late at night.
Mhm.
There's nobody out around, and we'll go get donuts, and we'll put in some of her music, and we'll just drive around LA area with nobody on the street eating donuts for an hour or so. That's what we do at midnight.
All
Yeah.
right. Where do you live now?
Burbank.
Burbank.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that you moved out of the Bay Area.
I moved out in 2008, about the same time you moved to Hong
Oh,
Kong.
okay. I didn't know this.
Yeah, and that's when I pretty much started being a sound guy about a year after that,
Hmm.
and I've been doing sound ever since, and kind of just stopped playing.
Hmm.
And I love my 14-year-old. We moved here when she was 2, or almost 3, and she doesn't know any place else, and she's going to Burbank Burroughs High School in Burbank. And she's part of the choir program there, where they have show choirs, and the Glee TV show is based on that program, and she's part of that. So she has to learn to sing and dance. As a matter of fact, she has to practice, get her audition together, because she has to videotape it and send it in for next year now, because the auditions aren't going to be in person. So she has to work on her song tonight. She has to get a kind of a dance together, and it's a big deal in that school. So it's fun. I like Burbank. It's actually kind of a quiet town, and
Hmm.
I have to drive everywhere, which I kind of hate, but I'm close to some really cool stuff when I would need to get close to some really cool stuff, musicians and great players. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. If I had to go back to California and choose between San Francisco and LA, now I would choose LA.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I never really had a sensibility for LA with all the driving and stuff, but it is a real world city.
It is. It is. And
Really is.
especially for a musician, there aren't that many places to play, but there's a lot of sessions and a lot of ways to meet people. John Mader moved here, and he got hooked up with people, and there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
Especially now with all the content, Netflix and Amazon opened up studios here, and for yourself, and you're playing and you're recording stuff. This would be a place that you would be able, especially now with all the content and everybody doing stuff out of their home. There's
Hmm.
there's a lot of guys that are putting music together for all these shows going out on all these platforms that need to be done, and they aren't right now. The big session players are not working because they can't get together, so everything's being done in home studios.
And that's probably going to shape the future.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. and
Yeah.
and for me, that's not my, I can play piano, but not in any way that I couldn't get proficient fast enough to take advantage of it. It's
Mm-hmm.
you got to be able to get like right now today start working. Um, so, but this is what I can do. I can talk. So I'm thinking I'm actually trying to get voiceover work. You know, and one of the things that people are doing audible podcasts, editing podcasts, and doing reading for books. So I know some people that they get sent a book and they sit in their little thing. It was a clear day and Johnny did this, and then he went to his house and he got in his car. They just read the book and then they edit it and send it in, and it becomes an audible book. Or audiobook, and those things can pay $500 a gig, on a book, or depending on how long the book is, it's $1,000 novel. It can be, a couple $1,000 because of the time you put in.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's where everything's going to go, is us sitting in our home doing stuff, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. In my place in Bangkok, I've got a room for a studio.
See?
I just put up the soundproofing stuff and made it really look attractive. And
Yeah. So you're all set. You're set to retire.
I see my future for sure in Bangkok. I really do.
Yeah.
Do you know where Mount Washington is, where you live?
Uh,
It's not too far from Dodger Stadium, the other side of the highway.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, is it?
I used to spend a lot of time there in the 90s. I had a good friend, and he would fly me down from San Francisco, and we'd record, and we did a couple of records.
Mount Washington.
I like that area. Not too far from Burbank.
Yeah, it's really close. Is it on the side of Griffith Park, or is it on the other side of Glendale?
It's let's see, it would be south of Glendale. It's really part of LA. I think it's pretty close to Griffith Park. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see where it is. All right. So we just drove. Actually, we just drove. My daughter and I just drove through there. That's right south of Eagle Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We just drove through there. Yeah. It's like 5 minutes. Especially now, it's like 3. Yeah. That's a cool little area.
Yeah. I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I could throw a rock, kind of, shoot a rocket firework and hit it from here.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, Bob. Well, I thank you for talking, man. It's been good catching up with you.
It was great, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing it, Jeff.
Yeah. I won't. I'll try not to. I'll try to stay more. Every now and then, we see each other's posts on Facebook. I learned something about Facebook, though. We all talk about how we don't see anybody's posts, and somebody told me the other day. They called me and go, "What you have to do is go into settings and change it from your news feed just to select most recent, and if you hit most recent, your newsfeed will start showing everybody that posts right away. Instead of, if you leave it in just like a regular news stream, like Jamie Brewer would post something, and then I would see that same story for like 24 hours sometimes, right? But if you hit recent on your Facebook feed, it'll show you all of your friends, whoever posts the most recently.
On Facebook feed. That. So just click recent.
Yeah. So if you go into your settings and go to your news feed, it actually has a setting that will allow you to change it from how you view your mail to your feed to most recent.
So this would be under manage posts?
Well, let me see. I'm going to try to pull it up here. Groups, events. See, I'm not real good at this new.
I'm not very good at this either.
Well, there's a new format that is hard to find. Okay, see more.
Yeah, I'm very hit and miss with my.
Okay, here we go. I'm scrolling down, and we'll get to most recent. Yeah, so there's a little thing that's sort of the news. It's right above. I look down. It's like offers, ads manager, town hall, weather, movies, and then there's this thing called most recent, and I click on that.
Okay, now square one. from the page. How do I even get there? Is this under activity log, update info?
So I am on the Chromebook. So you've got your Facebook on your left, the little th- thing that says the logo. Then you've got the search button. Are you on Safari?
No, this is Firefox.
Oh, okay. So if you go across your menu across the top, your top toolbar, you've got the home button, then you've got a watch button, you've got groups, you've got a little 3 lines. There should be a little 3 lines where it says more.
Let's see. I've got timeline, about, friends, photos, archive, more.
Yeah, go to more.
And scroll down to.
And then when you hit more, there's a whole bunch of things that show up there.
Right.
Group, and then scroll down to you see a thing that says recent.
Oh, I don't have recent on my list here.
There should be something that says most recent, or is there a picture of a news? I should open up Firefox and see if I can find it, because I have that too. Okay, give me a second and I'll tell you. If anybody's watching, they're probably going to try to figure this out too. Okay, where's
yeah?
Where did Firefox go? Yeah. Oh, there it comes. Oh, sorry, let me get this. Excuse me. Okay. Okay, so now I've got Firefox up, and I'm going to search, not now, and I'm going to, so I can see your same menu. Okay, Facebook. Okay, and we'll log in, and then I will see the menu you have, so I know that I'm talking about the right thing. Okay.
So underneath your top picture, there's timeline, about, friends, photos, archive, more.
Right. You hit more. Okay, now I see it now. Okay, so and then off to the right, on the very far right, there's the 3 lines, and is that it? No, that isn't it. New window, private. No, there's the 3 lines. Yeah, so there's what I have up is on the very far right is my account and my notifications, messenger, and then a plus sign on the very far right. Are you seeing that?
No, my far right line is blank.
Oh, okay. Well, you do have the little 3 lines that you click on that says more.
Yeah, I have more with an arrow down.
Right. Okay. So then you click on that. And then, so as you scroll through, it should all the way towards the bottom, there should be something you have to hit, then see more. And after you select see more, on the whole thing that will show up is messenger, groups, events, marketplace, watch, fundraisers, friends, memories, notes, all of that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, I see that.
Right. So then as you keep scrolling down, you got messenger kids, you got offers, crisis response, weather. Just above weather, there's a thing that I'm seeing says most recent. Below town hall, below ads manager.
No, I'm not seeing that.
Huh. And so when you first click on that more, it splits it in half. And
my page just did a thing here.
Yeah. So when I first hit more, it only shows me 5 choices. And in order to get past those 5 choices, I hit see more, and then all of the junk shows up.
Right. Yeah, I don't have a see more.
Oh, really?
At the bottom of mine, it says manage sections.
Huh. Hell, that's interesting. I wonder what that'll do.
Well, it shows about, friends, photos, archive, videos, check-ins, sports, music, movies, TV shows, blah 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 blah.
Is there, as you keep going down, does it have anything about recent ad activity or weather, different things you can add?
No, doesn't
Wow.
have either of those. And I'm all the way to the bottom.
Wow. That's interesting. Huh. Okay, go to the home. Click. I'm clicking on home button. So above my page, after I click home, right next, you've got the home button, right?
Okay, home. I just pressed home. Yeah.
Okay, right next to the home button, is there a little window that looks like a TV with a play button in it? Next,
No, I don't have that. Next to home, it has create.
okay, and then what's next to that?
Next to that is like two people friend requests. Yeah, friend requests,
Okay,
and then messages, and then notifications.
okay, and then on the next to that is the three bars to click on.
No, I don't have three marks. I have a question mark, and I have an arrow down.
Hmm.
I'll press
Wow.
the arrow down.
Yeah.
Manage group, manage pages, advertising, activity, news feed preferences.
Yes. Go there.
Sound good?
Yes.
I'll try it. Prioritize who to see first.
Jimmy Sanchez is trying to tell us. Go to the news feed. Click on news feed.
Go to news feed.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Jimmy.
are you,
Where the hell is my news feed? How do I? Yeah, the news feed is usually on the right,
yeah, yeah.
and it's blank. So how do I get
Oh,
news feed to appear?
yeah. Okay, so because I'm on Firefox trying to follow through, but you know what? See, I've got on my Firefox is the new format of Facebook. So it doesn't navigate the way the old format did. Okay. Um, wow, this is weird. So you can't find newsfeed
No,
preferences.
that's now that I think of it, I haven't seen my news feed for a little while.
Oh man. Oh, this is
Oh
fun,
gosh, I love this brave new world.
right? Well, um, so yeah, Jimmy goes, it's very simple on main page Facebook. He says on the left side it says newsfeed. But that's interesting. On mine, I don't see it on the left side.
No, I don't. It was always on the right side for me.
Yeah, me too. So that's what's really sort of baffling me a little bit. But you know what? Yeah. Oh wait, now it is on my left side. Oh, this is weird. See more. Yeah, it's on my left side now. And what if I go over here? Okay. Did you refreshed home, and is your next to your home on the left of your home? Do you have a search Facebook on the left of your home button?
No, I don't. But oh, wait a minute now. Something just came up on the left side. News feed is at the top. Let me click on that.
Okay. Is it possible that it's running slower because we're on Facebook on chat?
I don't think so. Uh, news feed. Okay, I just gosh, I just pressed news feed. There's all these people coming up that I don't know. A whole list of like stuff that I have no idea where it came from. Oh my God, I don't recognize anything here.
When I go to my thing, I found it what comes up. I see a little window that says most recent, and when I click on that, and my news
Yeah,
feed.
that's what I clicked on.
Oh, okay. And then on
Yeah,
most,
and it's active on most recent,
right. And so,
but it's all stuff from people I've never heard of.
wow. See,
Holy
so
crap!
yeah, so well, that happens to me too. So now I'm seeing on my most recent, I'm seeing a lot of people. Are there friends that you have that you're not sure of, that you don't know?
I don't think so. This is Jesus. This is all kinds of stuff. And now there's a few things. Okay, here's Kitty Margolis. I know her.
Yeah,
Oh, there's a Jimmy Sanchez.
yeah.
There's a Kurt Fuller. All right, as I get farther down into it, I'm finding more stuff.
Well, you might end up seeing a lot of stuff that you've never seen because you've been stuck in that, only seeing, when people say that they're only seeing 25 people, that
Mm-hmm.
that's not any kind of algorithm. What happens is it just sits, well, it's sort of an algorithm, but if you don't select most recent, it just gets the person that gets the most comments, or I forget how they described it to me, but my
Okay.
close friends that are always talking to me. But the minute I hit most recent, I will see stuff that I've never seen before from people, right?
Okay. Now I think I'm on the right track. Now I'm getting all. Okay, I recognize everybody now, just about.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, right?
So so maybe this will work better
Yeah.
for me.
This person also told me that sometimes every time they log out and start, they sometimes have to go back and keep selecting most recent in order to keep it, because it doesn't default there always.
Okay.
So if you feel like you're not seeing people for some time and go back and hit most recent, all of a sudden you may see stuff more than you've ever known.
Okay.
Well, hey man.
All right.
Hey,
Well,
and we had Jimmy Sanchez watching, trying to help us out. Hey, Jimmy.
cool.
Man, I so want to go over there.
Well, you
Love,
should.
yeah.
Just just buy. I don't know. You just buy a tour and have some time off from it to visit me and Jimmy,
Yeah.
and just have a look around. And from that, you just get the idea that this is not so formidable.
Right.
It's doable.
Right. It's probably easier than going to the Midwest right now.
Probably is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well,
Yeah.
I probably ought to get going. We've been at an hour and a half now. This was fun.
All right.
This was
This
really
was a
big
lot of
fun.
fun.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Bob. Yeah. And
All right.
and I got, and what was really cool is when Jimmy chimed in and people chimed, and we're all talking. It's kind of like like having a getting together on a gig. We haven't seen each other for a long time, and everybody's talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And this is going to remain up on your page.
yes.
So
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I don't
right.
take it down, and eventually I'll make a copy and post it on YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel there too, so it'll live there longer and easy to get to too.
Okay.
And easier. The thing is here on my Facebook page you can find it, but as my page fills up with junk, it's harder to scroll through. So even though it'll stay there, but once I post it to Jeff New's YouTube channel, all you see are just my interviews.
I see.
So it's easier to navigate and find a past interview from there.
Right.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to close it out. I'm going to close it out with the song and my usual kind of logo thing. Okay. Here we go. All right. Thanks, Bob.
Okay. Great to see you, Jeff.
All right, Bob.
All right.
Okay. Talk soon.
All right. Until next time.
Bye.